14 or 15-minute song, so for time's sake, if you need to cut us off.
Good already. I want to do something really fun. I want to set the mood at the very beginning. If we try something together, you mind if I play your cello just a little bit? So it's one of the hardest things to do is like set the kind of atmosphere that's like super necessary for this kind of like the markings lento, lugubre. It's got this like very tragic quality to the music, and like how can we like really like the way to like sit down on stage and like really bring people to us, because like it's the kind of music where we want to speak very softly about something. And I think there's something about how we can really just like inhabit that atmosphere before we start. So I think it'd be really cool if we could all just play this fifth together, like extremely simply, almost just like. See how soft we can make it. Why don't you try that? And so we're gonna play. So basically, like you just like as simple as possible. And then I want you to do that for a while, and then when you feel like you've really found the mood of the piece, just start and see how just tell the story. I'll guide you through it a little bit.
Why don't you guys actually try different contact points? Let's go very close to the bridge first and see what that does.
Softer.
Even softer. Even closer to the bridge. Even softer. Try very slowly moving towards the fingerboard.
Sort of creates the atmosphere and sort of like almost magnetizes you to each other in the very beginning. I think that's really cool. Sorry, I'm gonna keep using it, y'all. I think there's something to in like the group sound part of this. We talked a little bit about group sound and how to really play to the center to each other. I think there's something to be said about like exploring some of the like how you're actually building some of these chords together in the like almost like a little bit like soul-pont-ish, like just having a little bit more teeth in the sound. Because I think, you know, it sounds really great actually, like you're getting exactly the right feeling like when I'm that close to you, but when I'm a little bit further away, I miss a little bit of the chordal part of y'all's sound, like, and how that interacts with the piano. I'm gonna like totally mess this up, but you wanna start from maybe like, can we try like 4 or something? I'll just see it. And I think you could explore this as well, just like, how you can get under the string closer to the bridge and still like have that soft, super, like there's something so heightened about the sound. From 4. Yeah, something like that. I think just explore like how much you can feel like that resistance
also wanted to try something right before the piano comes in when you're transitioning from the arco to this figuration. I got the sense that you really want us to know that you have separate bows right away at bar 3. But what if there's actually a gradual evolution that it's like, oh my God, is this like, you know, angel wings rustling or something when we first get the thing? We don't even know, where's your bow shaking? That could be the question. And then all of a sudden bar 4 finally lays down a pattern for the piano that, you know, will give us meter, but even then it's more of like a palpitation of the heart. It's not really like a technique. Do you mind actually just trying from bar 2 one more time?
I think a good way to imagine this kind of thing is like, if you start kind of where Russell's talking about this kind of like so simple, actually doing a triple P, and then you view it like you're actually zooming in with like a microscope, and you're seeing the internals, it heightens and it almost melts into, it doesn't get loud. And it has this kind of like, it evolves out of the thing that you've already been doing. And that takes a lot of like trust in each other, like finding the right sounds and kind of being in the moment to not be scared to just let it happen. You guys want to try?
From 2, yeah. Slower? Yeah. And there is a crescendo in that bar, right? So like, what if it's almost like a niente on the very first down bow of the separate bows, and then as you get to piano, there's just like a heightened like energy or tension, like awareness, like.
Do you guys have it?
Oh, you do not have it in this score? Oh, sorry, I have a different edition that
I
has
think
crescendo.
maybe that's why I feel like there's something about the piano just coming in over the ether almost, like the discs. I don't know, that's a choice you guys should make though, knowing that like you could open up into it or you could kind of melt and the piano just is like in the fog, kind of searching for something.
Either way, I think just try even starting a little bit less on that first downbeat and then finding each other's sound. It doesn't have to be completely together. It was much better though. Maybe one more time? This is gorgeous in a way, but we're getting too much soul pont and the etherealness. So I would go back to kind of what you penciled in with like the crescendo after the piano entrance, because now what we really need is harmony. Like the pathos comes from you're the chorale in the background. It's just animated still.
Out here, it's actually.
Was it really nice?
Yeah, I was gonna say like actually like it would be like I really like what you're doing.
You basically have to navigate like right where he stopped you is like you start having to make choices of becoming real, like where like that that the piano did. There was a nice like coming together where you actually started to become like one, and then it's like okay, now explore how much do you actually need that edge in the sound to like match, and like how much are you playing against the piano? As it is, it's probably really crazy feeling up there, but am I wrong? It's like pretty like world class playing in the sense of like it's so crazy how different that is. Now like, do you feel it up there? Like there's something going on, or is it just like wow, we're making noises? Like how does it feel to you guys? That's fine.
I mean, it's the interesting thing, soul pont sound carries much better in a hall than it does under the ear. And so does the thing, I mean, Angela was working in the previous group with the kind of touch to get more resonance out of the instrument. And basically those are two different ways of achieving the same thing. It's that kind of glow in the sound. One is a little bit more artificial, in this case this is an effect. The other way is more trying to get the instrument to speak maximally with focus. So ironically, those two things are opposites, but actually end up in the same place. And that's what we're trying to do, is like storytell like to the bigger space.
I think there's something like super like kind of miraculous actually about like when you guys really bring us down to that pianissimo, and the piano has piano like over that. There's like, it feels so lonely because like you're really not getting that kind of affirmative feedback from that like the atmosphere thing. So it's almost like you're saying it to no one. And then even so, like they don't even have like a crescendo really, and you have mezzo forte. It's like a little more desperate or something. And then finally, only after like another couple phrases, you guys actually all meet up on the forte. So like I think like the more that you can like feel like, I really like the dynamic scheme you've come up with. I think it's right. I wonder if there's a way that you could feel like you want to do it more than you're able to, if that makes sense. Like you guys want to affirm him, but like there's some reason that you can't. And then finally, when you do get that big crescendo at measure 15, I think like something that really takes us and like gives us like an emotional reason that finally at 17 we're all in that 14. That's like your first major musical event, I guess. You want to try that?
I should. Sorry.
Just from the beginning, I guess.
That's pretty far back.
Is that too far back?
It's fine.
Is there a good spot?
Yeah, it's like
I never did this. That's good. I feel like you have a little bit. I feel like you got more than that. Let's see. Can we? Do you mind if I? Actually, I don't need you to tell. So I think that there's something too in. You don't know where this is. Like when you start having these swells, I think there's something to like you have the first do do dee do 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 ti do, and it has to come away, and then your second do 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 ti do do, it goes all the way through, and that like creates like this thing that you guys react to that makes the big crescendo really happen. And you know in the Arensky we kind of had that deep pulse with like the like tremolo kind of thing. So like like how you're doing 1, 2, 1 and then when you get to the forte, like how you can like really just give it quite a bit more. I guess you keep going through that, you go all the way through the next one, which makes sense to me. So how you can like use that effort to like kind of make that thing really shocking in a way. Yeah, you want to try that once maybe from 10. Yeah, is 10 good or like something?
But actually, can I say something about the tremolo stuff? For me, it's actually getting a lot better. the harmony, when it starts moving a lot quicker, which is especially true in starting from the crescendo, we kind of miss the harmony making the crescendos happen. Right now, it's kind of like you're staying in the same vibe and you're kind of getting loud and you're like, we're here. But I wonder if there's like an internal reason for this stuff to happen. And I don't know if you guys are hearing, especially in the strings, how your sounds are mixing and how you're kind of, that electricity of the notes like bumping into each other. That kind of sound is a little, I mean, even at the beginning, I know it's just open strings, but it's not like zoning out. You guys are not zoning out. You're having a really good vibe, but every note like really rubbing against each other, not rubbing as in like, but like really like having that sizzle. And then I guess you guys were starting around here, right? Is that where the 10-ish? Yeah. I wonder if you can use a little bit more bow wherever you are on it doesn't matter where you are, but really listen to how your notes are touching each other, literally, rather than like kind of being like, don't get in the way, like the harmony really needs to come across. I would, in your own practice time, I would really recommend like doing like, and like understanding where like, and having that kind of pulse. Can we go from wherever Russell was starting from, but don't lose that note talking to each other.
That peak with the diminuendo, it's still like a peak. You're only going down the mezzo forte. It's very expressive. Like in general, I mean, you're playing this so well. You're getting a beautiful sound out of the piano. I would experiment a lot more with the fronts of slurs because the main motive of the piece is syncopated, and then eventually, when the hairpins come, it's very, very clearly crescendo and decrescendo within the slur. Da 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 dee da da. But where we just arrived is a perfect example of the peak being really important. Tom ta da 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 dum ta da dee da da. Those are all like claws, like reaching. And then this is actually an interesting texture because your left hand is setting 2 chords, but many times before that, from the beginning of the piece, you don't have a sense of chord change that's obvious. It's all the stuff that you're, having to do, but it's really the slurs that are the only thing happening. But here it actually is like very grounded with 2 harmonies. And then with the string playing, we have bows. We think about slurs anyway, but I'd encourage when we go on in the theme to think about fronts of slurs, and even if you kind of da-dee-da-da, go to the main note, that first note has to speak right away with an intention. You can even come up with words of, I'm really sad, just really, that the first I really has to make sense.
So for the crescendo that we were just at, I think you can imagine a lot more of an exponential reading of your dynamic, because I know you're coming from like not that quiet, but what's happening is the orchestra, it's like the Rachmaninoff piano concerto, where like the orchestra has to express itself. So your dynamic is probably a little more 3-dimensionally getting louder. It's not just linearly getting louder. So you have more gesture and depth and breathing. I think during the crescendo, I would just say like right at the crescendo, they're all double notes, but at a certain point, I feel like all 30 seconds start mattering. And I would just try from the crescendo that every 30 second is something important, rather than like because I hear the struggle between when to crescendo, as in like ding down 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 down, rather than like and at a certain point that needs to happen. And maybe we can just like try agreeing that like the crescendo bar is when you guys start. Then that way you can really build intensity in the right way to support the piano. Can we go closer around that area? Sure, yeah, that's fine. Let's skip the 2 bars.
Told you.
Awesome. I wonder if we can try something good. That sounds really cool. I love the dialogue of that, and it's super exciting. I wonder if we can really feel how the bass line kind of leads the whole thing around, because it's super interesting how you have this like boom, 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 like kind of how you bring everybody through it. So you have this ba-dee-da-da, like how you kind of bring those things through it, and that way I think it gives a reason for the like the front of the slur thing that Justin's talking about, because then you're actually like pulling against the bass in its own way. Can we just hear it, like a little bit of your bass line from 20, just to like, that's your left hand only, the octaves, or whatever interval it is. Nice, that's really cool. Can you do one more thing for me? Can you play it once? And I want you to be just so amazed every time you go up, you're gonna go, wow, I'm going up. And every time that you go down, you're gonna go, oh my gosh, I'm going down, that's so crazy. And I just want every single one of those details to be like, because that's actually the most important. Maybe it's because I'm a cellist and like I do this in quartet all the time, so I'm totally biased, but I think it actually like completely changes like the size of the ensemble that you're playing in, because like literally the range of the instrument that you're playing at any moment is being totally shifted by that. Can you try that once and just, I want you to like just show me as best as you can whether or not your bass line's going up or down. Just with your bass line, just to hear it once. So right on 20. You have to hear like how some of those harmonies are like super weird, and like the stuff that you play with him at the same time, like it doesn't always make sense. It's like a little unsettling.
I was about to say his eighth notes at that last forte, the E flat to A. I mean, it's a tritone. It's obviously dissonant, but they're two completely different worlds. I feel like you're kind of both playing them like kind of seriously. What if one is so shockingly like, you know, demonically bright, and the other one is so terrifyingly dark, and they're both scary in their own way, but they're actually like two different worlds. And then ta da dee da dee da dee da, that's reflected in that, and you have a little you know, passing of the flats back to each other. So you're not quite agreeing on what color is what, but I think the kind of contrast there back and forth will highlight that.
Awesome. And I think now that we're going to add in probably your piano right hand, I think kind of imagining how that can almost be like an undercurrent, like you're the atmosphere person now, so like how you can kind of provide that. And it's super interesting because you're actually in the same dynamic, so you actually are providing that kind of affirmative support we didn't get in the beginning, so that's a fun little thing. But how you can use each of those to kind of show where your bassline's going rather than like your bassline following that, if that makes sense.
Are those octaves in the bass?
Not always.
Not always. When you have octaves in the bass line, really feel out how close they are. And then you can balance actually more top end when they get closer to feel like you actually have more quality across the octave. And then when they're farther away from you, really grab the bottom note. That's gonna feel really crazy, the width of the kind of group when you do that kind of stuff.
Want to do 20 again with all that in mind?
What are you going for in the feeling of it?
I'm kind of thinking kind of like bells in a way, at least like for
Yeah.
the
Great, yeah. I think that's a great image. I'm almost wondering, what if you're imagining like a brass section imitating bells? Like, to me right now, all of a sudden, you're a flipping character, which is great, but it feels a little bit like, almost like too happy to me in a way. Like, what if there's still something mysterious about it? It's still piano, like bells from another world, like, wow, what's the magic of this? Rather than like, oh, bells, you know, hearing ding, 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 you know, so there's more to the, if you're imagining that you're sustaining the middles of the notes, and then the accents still have a little bit of a vocal quality, even
You try
with
without
the
pedal.
articulation.
Just try it without the pedal and really feel it out together once. You gotta play it. Try that spot together without the pedal.
Pew Vivo, everybody. Yeah, so I know it's very impossible without the pedal, but what if you try sustaining those long notes as even longer if possible, and take your time. I think this is already a pretty fast tempo for what I'm used to for hearing here. So ta-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-da. Imagine that you have subdivisions of ba 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 ba, all the 8 notes.
You
Actually,
can sing it.
yeah. can you try like singing with, you mean with the eighth notes, or, yeah, can you try singing with eighth notes while you're playing, or, yeah, so sing along with ba 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 while you're playing, can you try that? Good, yeah, and then it's the magic of the range change, so I would say even more depth in the left hand. And whatever you can do to get even a little bit more singing, in the end you don't have to necessarily play so legato, but it's just more the singing quality that we need. Do you want to add the pedal back in now?
I think it's worth noting that in the string parts, your tremolo note is actually like the bass part. So you're actually the thing that's kind of holding the whole thing together. So really feel like you're under the piano and like you're like sending the sound out there, something like that. And then I think that's that makes it more of an event when the cello comes in too. That you get this octave change, and like I said, the group gets larger by a full octave.
One more time with pedal, but really go for the intention of singing in the two different registers. Closer to where you started. So yeah, very nice trying stuff out. At bar 70, you have this pickup B natural that actually changes like the course of where we're going now. There's going to be a sequence and developmental stuff or transitional stuff. You gave a big diminuendo into that. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but I know you want to set a dynamic that we have somewhere to go.
You're talking about the one at the
Into
end of 69?
69.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said about when you're playing these bass lines, the heaviest interval out of all the intervals is actually the half step.
Yeah.
So how you feel like, bon, I'm horrible at singing. I can't do a half step, but it's like like there's some like a huge amount of tension that has to happen to get up a half step. Because you're basically transforming a flat into a natural. It's somehow a lot of effort.
So is there any way we can get a real cadence in C minor into 70, and then if you want, you can kind of cut back in the middle of the bar to make room for them, and then they'll take the sequence up. And then there's the whole, they have all of this stuff, ba-dee-da-dee. When you're getting into the fortissimo, it felt like you could have actually, to me, taken more advantage of time now, just because like you're already pretty loud. There's not too many dynamic levels up. Like oftentimes we talk about hairpins being more of, they're not necessarily dynamics, but they're weight, so that as this opens, it's literally expressing the depth of time that you need. And then versus when you get to the triple F, all of those notes have the same weight in a way, pom, pom, pom. It's no longer the stretch on the pickup. I think that might be a way to differentiate. Can we try getting into 70?
Well, what are you guys thinking about when you have to repeat the same thing like 20 times? Are you wishing it would be over sooner? Like what does it feel like to play that? Like same bowing, same kind of what do you call that? Shape? What does it feel like to be involved in that kind of music making?
Are you talking about age?
Yeah, when you play that over and over and over and over and over again. With some changes, yeah. You can bring out changes and stuff, but
I mean, definitely the shape of the phrase is to go to that top one and then it goes down.
Is
So
there anything happening like inside you that's just like nothing? It doesn't feel crazy?
I mean, it's going up a half step every time, right? So
Yeah.
it's getting more and more intense.
Yeah, but it also at a certain point it's like I'm gonna be stuck doing this forever. It's like he could be going up like half step forever, and then I don't know. It's like what was he thinking is kind of like what I might like like where is this gonna end? Like is it desperate feeling? Is it pleading? Is it like yearning for something, or is it wanting to end it every time? Like I feel like. No need to make decisions right now, but I wish it was not so ordinary to you guys anymore because you're used to it, but that every time you come to it, like you're experiencing new things. It could be the long notes, it could be the start of the eighth notes. Yeah, I just wish it was a little more internally driven, involved, and just created in the moment. And don't take it for granted that, because you know it'll be over soon, but the audiences don't know when we're gonna be done. But you're like telling us the same thing over and over again. It's crazy, so try being a little more involved spontaneously. That's all I'm gonna say in this.
I think there's something that you can do in the piano, because you keep having that G like again and again, even though right in the left hand, like hit the like I think like the more you can just like almost get like frustrated that you have to keep playing the same note while the whole thing's changing. Like there's something that like really feels unstable about that to me, and maybe there's something in like how that affects the whole thing.
Cool. What's a good
Let's
spot?
do the bill and wrap it up.
70. Is 470 okay? Is that
100 more times before. I don't know what you're preparing for, whatever. It's just every time you rehearse, it has to feel new for sections like that. And I would encourage you to keep risking it and like fall apart somehow in those moments too. And I think it'll stay really creative. You guys are very creative musicians. Just don't let things go by you at all. Yeah. Thanks for playing today.